December 14th, 2021 Parish Planning and Zoning Meeting. Would you all please stand while Mr. LaSalle Williams says the invocation and pledge of allegiance?
Dear God, again we come thanking Thee for allowing us another blessed day. Give us our sins and our shortcomings and make us fit. We pray that the Holy Spirit dwell in this meeting tonight. And we just thank you, Lord, for allowing us to serve for another year as the president on the board and the staff. And we pray for those who to serve in the position of leadership in the coming year. We pray to guide them and let the Holy Spirit guide them. Pray for those who come tonight, Lord, who seeking our help. Let the Holy Spirit dwell with us that we might do that which is right. Let us not forget those who suffer throughout the land. Have blessing upon them on this day. This we offer as our prayer in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jennifer, would you please call roll?
Chair Kirk Smith.
Here.
Vice Chair Julia Dickerson.
Here.
Miss Latricia Cobb. Mr. Keith Dubrock.
Here.
Miss Sharon Galicia.
Here.
Miss Janelle Hyatt.
Here.
Mr. Art Little.
Here.
Mr. Jake Porsche.
Here.
Mr. Carl Vincent.
Here.
Mr. LaSalle Williams.
Here.
Miss Deanne Winey.
Here.
Thank you. This is an 11-member board. It will take a majority of those members present to grant or deny any request heard tonight. The chair will refrain from voting unless that vote might affect the outcome. The meeting will be conducted with me reading the request from the agenda. The planning staff will give a presentation and report their recommendations. If the applicant would like to add to the staff's presentation, or if someone from the audience has comments, please come to the microphone and state your name, address, and the nature of your request. All persons wishing to speak other than the applicants need to fill out a blue request to appear form located in the back of this room. The form must be given to a staff member prior to the reading of the agenda item. As required by this board's bylaws, in all cases, the proponents will be limited to 10 minutes. Opponents will be granted 10 minutes as well, with each speaker allowed no more than 3 minutes. I recommend that a spokesperson be selected if there's a large group wanting to speak on the same agenda item. If 4 or more speaker request forms are submitted, the time allowed for individual speakers will be limited based upon the number of forms submitted. The chair has the right to limit speakers who present redundant information or personal attacks. In unique situations, the chair may extend or the board may vote to extend the time allotted for speakers. After discussion, the board will vote on each request. I will announce the decision of the board after the vote. The exceptions and variances are final tonight. This meeting is being filmed by the Calcasieu Parish Government Channel and can be viewed on Wednesday and Thursday following the meeting. For additional run dates, check the website at www.calcasieuParish.gov, Channel 5 in Lake Charles, Sulphur, Moss Bluff, Westlake, Vinton, DeQuincy, and Gillis, Channel 99 in Carlos and Grand Lake. Please either turn off or silence all electronic devices. I'd like to recognize that Mr. Anthony Barty, Police Juror, is in attendance with us this evening. Thanks for coming. Take appropriate action to approve the minutes of November 16th, 2021 Planning and Zoning meeting. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Dickerson. Excuse me, second by Ms. Hyatt. There being no opposition, the minutes are approved. Take appropriate action on VAR-1021-0193, a request by William Boland Edux for a variance to decrease the side yard setback requirement for a pond required 50 feet, requesting 7 feet at 5290 Shoepick Road in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Tunn.
This property is in the Shoepick Road area and encompasses 5 acres of land. The applicant recently dug a 1/10 of an acre pond to be used as a duck pond. Although the dirt remained on site, the pond does not meet the required 50-foot setback from the property line. The applicant is requesting 7 feet. Because there is no evidence of a hardship, the staff recommends that the request be denied.
Thank you, Ms. Tunn. Does the applicant have anything to offer in this presentation?
Hello, I'm William Boland, 5290 Shoepeak Road, Carlos, Louisiana. I've got a couple handouts if anybody is interested. We dug the pond in 2020. I was not aware of the law starting in 2019. We actually made the plan in 2018. I'm well aware that ignorance of the law is no excuse, but that is the reason I didn't know about the 50-foot setback. And I know y'all have heard this. I watched, last night I watched all the, I had my civics class watching y'all going through all these things with setbacks and stuff. But, and it's not a hardship where it's at. It's really not. But I'd like to talk about mitigation if y'all would possibly consider it. There are pictures in the handout of the overflow and also the side of the pond. I put some stuff called sand mat in there to take care of any erosion. And also I was willing to, moving forward, to use some other of the stuff that's in the handout, DuPont-based erosion control. I noticed not a lot of people had talked about ways of mitigating, and as far as I understand it, the reason that the setback was moved to 50 feet was so that there wouldn't be any future erosion. And so that's what I was looking at taking care of. Also, my neighbor, I've got a letter, I don't think it was shown up there, but a letter he signed, and he totally agrees, and he helped me dig the pond. And so he's totally behind this pond being there. It's a very small pond. It's only about 3 feet at maximum depth. It's got a 3-to-1 slope with this pond mat in it, and it's been there for, gosh, about 20 months now, and we've had no erosion. And also, it's in my personal best interest to eliminate or prevent any erosion because my wooden fence is right at the close to the property line, and I have animals. So moving forward, I would definitely have a vested interest in maintaining any type of erosion control. And yes, I guess that's pretty much it, and I'd appreciate y'all's consideration.
Mr. Boland, you said you have a letter from your neighbor?
Yes, I do. It's in the file, signed by Joseph Shane Clark.
There's a statement, but there's no signature on the items that we have.
I don't know, sir. I uploaded it, and it showed up in the file as a fully signed copy in the permit portal. I've got it. It's heck, it shows up on my phone. I don't know how y'all ended up with the unsigned copy, but he did sign it. He was just working at his ranch and didn't have time to come out tonight. But yeah, Joseph Shane Clark, and that's what I sent, and that's what's uploaded onto the portal. I don't know why you would have one that's not signed.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Boland? Mr. Boucher?
So you dug the pond 20 months ago?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How did this come about that we're here?
Because I've had a disagreement on a separate issue with a neighbor, and so they called the planning division and asked them to come look at all my stuff real closely, which they did. And I have a couple of goat shacks and also the pond that I didn't have permitted. And so the planning development director and Dan, contacted me, and we worked through it, you know, as far as reactively doing the permits and making sure everything was approved and that everything was up to speed. And this is the last item. We were able to get all the buildings inspected and approved. It's just this is the last item that was in that that it was reported to. Like I say, it was reported by a neighbor.
By a neighbor or the neighbor that signed the letter?
No,
of
no, no,
support?
this is a totally different neighbor. This is a neighbor who's got an axe to grind with me about something else, but
Okay.
I don't want
I
to
was
get into
just
personal
curious
stuff.
because your
but-
neighbors supporting it was done 20 months ago. Somebody rang the bell, so.
Right, it's
yeah.
somebody about 4 houses down who hates my guts, basically.
Okay. All right, that's my only questions for the
Any
Yes,
other
sir.
But
questions?
for the staff,
Okay.
if we don't approve it, what does he do? Has to fill it back in?
Yes.
Any other questions for the staff? Ms. Cobb?
Previously, he wasn't allowed to have this pond.
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear.
I think the question is for the staff.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, the ordinance changed back in 19, I believe. Yeah, 2019, that required the setback for ponds and borrow pits to be 50 feet from the property line. And so this particular pond was dug without benefit of permit, and Mr. Boland is correct. We received a complaint, and we pursued an investigation on it, on this property, and found that there were several structures and ponds that are, this pond included, that were not permitted. And then this particular pond was too close to the property line. That's why he's here tonight.
Okay. Ms. Galicia?
So you've already done all this to the pond?
Yes, the sand mats are there. It's kind of hard to see because I had to print in black and white. My wife wouldn't let me use color. But, yeah, that's all been done. It's got the overflow pipe. There's been no erosion, and that sand mat is there. And also, I would, moving forward, if you guys deemed it was necessary, I could definitely do some increased erosion control. And one of my thoughts was just the, not only for myself, but moving forward, I know that you guys, these things are coming to you moving forward, and I thought that somebody else had a problem with mitigation, to get rid of the problems with erosion control, something like this might be a good answer for them. Just watching y'all, everybody speak last night on YouTube.
Any other questions?
I have a question for the staff,
Okay.
not for the applicant.
Mr. Porsche?
According to my memory, we had a specific subdivision that we've approved some variance on the pond setback, and I believe the most that we gave them, because they had purchased the property, much smaller lot, the hardship argument could come into question, was 25 feet. Is that correct? And I think there
that's
was,
pretty close.
it
Yeah.
was 20 or 25 feet.
Yeah.
And just for me, moving forward, and we had that discussion with the precedent we set and things like that, but I believe one or two that we've approved outside of that subdivision that was 25 feet was the most. So just for me, 7 feet is just very, very close to a property line that, I was just wanting to make sure my memory served, is 20 or 25 feet was the most we've approved.
I think
up
you're
to this
correct.
point.
Yep.
What was the ordinance before 19? Was it 10 feet or nothing?
We didn't have a setback requirement prior to the 2019 ordinance.
Yes, Mr. Boland?
Just like to say that I measured it today. I threw 7 feet out there because I didn't want to throw too high a number out there, but it's actually 10 feet. I don't know if that makes any difference, but it is 10 feet. So.
Thank you. Any other questions for the staff and whatnot? Ms. Jennifer, how about a roll call vote?
Ms. Dickerson? No. Ms. Cobb? Mr. Dubrack?
No.
Ms. Galicia?
No.
Ms. Hyatt? Yes. Mr. Little?
No.
Mr. Porsche?
No?
Mr. Vincent?
No.
Mr. Williams?
No.
Ms. Winey? No. 2-4.
Motion
8
fails.
against.
Take appropriate action on VAR-1021-0194, a request by Jason Giat for a variance to decrease the side and rear setback requirements for a borrow pit. Required 50 feet, requesting 30 feet, at 6813 East Desautel Street in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Tunn.
This property is in southeast Lake Charles and encompasses 1 acre of land. In 2020, the Planning and Zoning Board granted a request by Mr. Giat for a zoning exception to allow a borrow pit at this location. The applicant does not meet the setback requirements of 50 feet, therefore is requesting a setback variance of 30 feet. Because there is no evidence of a hardship, the staff recommends the request be denied.
Thank you, Ms. Tunn. Does the applicant have anything to add to this presentation? Is the applicant present?
My name is Jared Derwin. I'm the one that dug the pond, and we are every bit of no less than 25 feet on every
I'm assuming
side.
you're representing the applicant?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. I'm the one that dug it. And somebody came out there and measured it from the police jury, or from the parish, and said that the south side of it was only like 15 feet. Well, they went from some stakes that I was marking some pipes for drainage. They didn't go from the property lines and measure. I mean, the south end of that pond is definitely 30 feet from the pond. The property line is 30 foot.
Right now, we're here for a variance that the applicant has filed. So
Right.
if he's withdrawing the request, I don't know where we stand right now, but right now he's requesting a variance. If he's saying now there's no variance needed, I don't really.
I think the debate is from where it was measured from, is what I'm understanding.
Well,
Yeah.
if he does not get a variance and the police jury later finds that he's not in compliance, he's going to get cited. And that'll be a different dispute for a later day. But right now, we're here for a variance that the applicant has filed. If he's withdrawing that request, then we don't need to do anything today.
Can I say something else?
Sure.
On that side of the property, there was a swell that went through the center of it before we dug the pond. I rerouted that ditch, or that swell, for drainage that drains the property to the west of it, around the backside of the pond, and that's why we put the culverts next to his driveway to run, so the water can make it to the ditch. I started that swell, my dozer blade is 10 feet wide. And I started that swell about 2 foot from the property line, digging that ditch, and it's a dozer blade wide on both sides. And then there's a levee, so it's at least 30 feet wide.
50.
No, from the property line, right. That's what it is, and that's why we're asking for the variance.
Right.
Just so we don't have to spend $30,000-$40,000 hauling dirt back into there,
Any other questions for this gentleman? Mr. Porsche.
So are you saying you need more than 30 feet?
No, we just want it to, we want it to stay the way it is, without having to haul dirt back in, and it's at least 30 feet from the neighbor.
When did you start the borrow pit? After we knew the setback requirements?
No, they submitted plans and got permits for the pond.
Based on,
And it was 50 feet. They submitted their plans and it showed 50 feet. They overdug the pond.
Well, I mean, what it was is when we started cutting the slopes, it took away from the edge. And
Mr. Porsche, you have a question?
So the pit's fully excavated,
yes, sir.
and you just started your stair step from 50 feet to the 30 feet after the fact, after you dug everything out? Is that where we
Well,
are?
I mean, when we cut, because it was originally 50 feet from the property line.
Okay.
But when we started cutting the slopes and everything, they just
Right.
took more dirt than what I anticipated.
Okay. Oh. So you would have to,
Oh, I would have
Bring-
to haul dirt back in, yeah.
so did a neighbor? Was
Got a
this a
complaint.
neighbor situation?
Yes.
Okay. That's not happy. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the reason the neighbor was upset is we rerouted that ditch, you know, that would normally go through the center of that property. And the ditch still drains and the culverts drain, but if your road ditch is full, then the water can't go anywhere. You know, so it's gonna back up until the road ditch goes down. I mean, there's nothing you can.
Neighbor feels like you drained it on her property, his property?
Well, the ditch is along the north side of that neighbor's property, in between the Guillots and them.
Mr. Chairman, I do think there is opposition on this.
Yes, we do. Right. Thank you, sir. Teresa Drake.
Oh.
I'm Teresa Drake. I'm at 2812 East Gautier Road. And the reason why I'm here tonight and why the complaint was made, because of the flood in May, that water backed up into my yard and into my mother-in-law cottage. It ruined my daughter's furniture, and I have damage to my mother-in-law's cottage. And the back of my yard stays wet, and it's hard to mow there.
Where are you, ma'am, in relation to this pit? You're north?
I'm right in north.
She's south of the pit.
Okay.
She's on the 30-foot side, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Any questions for Ms. Drake? Thank you, Ms. Drake.
Prior to the pond being dug, did your yard flood?
No. No flooding at all in my backyard at all. And I don't know if it was because of the storm, because of the flooding, the weather, but it was too much water and it all came to me.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, ma'am. That was the only blue card on that item. Any questions for the staff?
At the time of the approval, on borrow pits, I've seen 50 feet for many years, correct? I mean, that was always a stipulation as far as the offset to the property line. When he started building this and he pulled the permit for this, that information was given to him at the
Oh,
time,
yes.
50-foot offset.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's
Yeah, and they had it in their site plan, 50 feet.
right.
They had everything that they submitted was correct. They did everything correct and got the permit. But
Right.
when they dug it too close.
Okay. Any other questions? There being none, Jennifer, roll call vote.
You might want to ask if the applicant wants to.
Does the
rebut it.
applicant have anything to address on what was presented to us last?
If I'm not mistaken, I believe that when her backyard flooded, that's when all of Lake Charles flooded. It wasn't just because of that. I mean, the homeowner actually has a friend that was an engineer, a civil engineer, that told us what size pipe to run and everything. I mean, you know, for the drainage coming around to handle the volume of water.
Well, I think what we're here to hear is the 50 versus 30-foot setback.
Right.
That's correct.
That's what this board is going to address shortly.
Right, but I was just saying the flood reason, the time it did flood. I mean,
we recognize that it was a phenomenal rain event that caused a lot of folks to flood that maybe hadn't flooded before.
mhm.
I get that. So, Mr.
Thank you.
Crane?
Mr. Smith, you're exactly right. The complaint came in to us based on a flood and the property adjacent to it being flood, but when we investigated, that's when we found out the pond was too close. And that's why we're here tonight. It's not based on the drainage or anything like that. It's strictly based on the setback.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Porsche?
Question for the staff, or maybe Mr. Gabb. The request in and of itself, there's no hardship as it sits, but to bring dirt back in is a cost. What's the take on that as being a hardship?
It's not. In my, and that's you're asking me my opinion. My opinion is it's a situation that may have been created by himself.
Yeah,
Now
self-inflicted
claim a
hardship.
hardship on something you've created doesn't really, in my mind, count as a hardship.
I can see that. All right, that was my question.
Any other questions? Ms. Jennifer, roll call vote.
Ms. Cobb? No. Mr. Dubrock?
No.
Ms. Galicia?
No.
Ms. Hyatt? No. Mr. Little?
No.
Mr. Porsche?
No.
Mr. Benson?
No.
Mr. Williams?
No.
Ms. Winey? No. Ms. Dickerson?
No.
10-0, the motion fails. Take appropriate action on VAR dash 1121-0195, a request by Donald Fisher for a variance to decrease the rear yard setback requirement for an accessory building, required 15 feet, requesting 0 feet, at 6919 Wilder Road in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Ms. Dickerson. Second by Ms. Cobb. Ms. Tunn.
This property is in South Lake Charles in the Haymark Road area. There was an existing accessory building on this property that was damaged due to Hurricane Laura. At this time, the applicant would like to replace the accessory building. He is requesting a rear setback variance from the required 15 feet to 0 feet to allow a covered boat slip and patio. Because the proposed development is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends the request be granted.
Thank you, Ms. Tunn. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's presentation?
My name's Les Gomez. I'm the architect for my client, Mr. Don Fisher. And just wanted to make a statement that, as you can see to the left of that property, there is a houseboat on the water line, and several lots down to the south of that would be 2 more. And we just wanted to be consistent with that and allow us to have a boat shed right on the water and not 15 feet away from it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Any questions for Mr. Gomez by the staff? Any questions for the staff? We had one blue card, Mr. Gomez, that was you. Thank you. If no more questions, then all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There being none, motion carries. Take appropriate action on EX-1021-0127, a request by Keeling Holdings LLC for an exception to allow a borrow pit 37.48 acres in the 7900 block of Gulf Highway in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval with conditions.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Williams, second by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Tunn.
This property is in South Lake Charles off of Gulf Highway and East Lincoln Road area. The applicant would like to excavate a 37.4 acre borrow pit. The borrow pit will be intended for the operations of Keeling Construction and not outside sales. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends the request be granted with the following conditions. That the development must be in accordance with section 26-122 1H4I through XIII of the Parish Code of Ordinances, and prior to the issuance of a development permit, the following items are required: that a runoff management plan will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering, that a letter of no objection from the Gravity Drainage District must be provided, that a map detailing the hauling route is required to determine the road damage bond requirements, and that a road damage bond in the amount determined by the parish engineer must be submitted to the Division of Engineering.
Thank you, Ms. Tunn. Does the applicant have anything to add to his presentation?
Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Tom Gale, 713 Kirby Street, Lake Charles. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. After the application got submitted, we did contact Gravity Drainage, and we realized that the setbacks, we've been talking about setbacks and 50 feet on this pit. Since it's next to a designated drainage lateral, we may have to modify it. And so we will modify it according to whatever the engineering standards and terms are, but it's probably going to be different than the 50 feet that was initially submitted on the plan. So if we can have the latitude to work with the engineering department to come into compliance with the drainage ordinance, everything else on the application would stay the same.
Thank you, Mr. Gale. Any questions for Mr. Gale? There being none, thank you. There are no blue cards on this agenda item. Are any questions by the board members regarding this? There being none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Take appropriate action on EX-1121-0128, a request by Sandra Wilson for an exception to allow residential development, manufactured home at 1672 Ira Row Road in Ward 8. I will entertain a motion for approval with conditions. Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Tunn.
This property is in the LeBlue Settlement area and is zoned single-family residential. The applicant's home was damaged due to Hurricane Laura, and she would like to place a manufactured home on the property to serve as her residence. The parish code requires an exception by the board to allow a manufactured home in the single-family residential zoning district. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the Division of Planning and Development, provided that the director or designee may authorize adjustments to the site plan in light of technical or engineering considerations discovered during development, and that the manufactured home be skirted prior to utilities being connected.
Thank you, Ms. Tunn. Does the applicant have anything to add to this presentation? If present, okay, no. Any questions by the board members? There being none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item 11, take appropriate action on EX-1121-0129, a request by William P. Bennett Edux for an exception to allow residential development, manufactured home at 900 Baghdad Road in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion for approval with the condition. Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Tunn.
Property is in Westlake and zoned single-family residential. The applicant's home was damaged due to Hurricane Laura. The applicant is requesting to keep a FEMA manufactured home on the property to serve as their residence. The parish code requires an exception by this board to allow the manufactured home on the property. Because a similar request was granted in the area and minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends the request be granted with the condition that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the Division of Planning and Development, provided that the director or designee may authorize adjustments to the site plan in light of technical or engineering considerations discovered during development. The staff has received numerous letters of opposition and a petition, and that's all on your tablets.
Thank you, Ms. Tunn. We do have a number of blue cards. In this particular case, the proponents led by Mr. Bennett Mr. Bennett, you'll have 6 minutes, and each one of the other proponents for the blue cards, no, but this is the same person.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
There was some confusion. I think there's a card turned in with no name on it in favor of this item.
Okay.
But you are correct. It's 6 minutes for the applicant.
And all the others are 1 minute.
1 minute each for the others, yes.
Mr. Bennett?
guess it's wrong. I guess it's 11.
My wife is a cancer patient. This is her wheelchair ramp. This is one of the exceptions that's been granted right across from my gate. I see every morning. This is another one in a heavy populated area that's been granted. This is a very nice home. Across from this is some very expensive homes, but this has a variant right there. They could put this mobile home right there.
Is there a mobile home right there? It looks like it's taped
No,
on there.
It was so old, they had to take it away. It is not there now, but the property's still the same. This one, in between two nice homes, there's only about 50 feet to the edge of the marsh. This property right here has the variant to put a mobile home right next to these nice homes. I came to this meeting, nobody showed up, not one opposition. This sucker is right in between two nice homes. They can put a mobile home right there. These are very noticeable. That's mine. You can't already see it. It needs no other variance. It meets the 50-foot offset, and it meets sewer. They just had a sewer inspection on Baghdad, and a bunch of houses didn't pass. Mine passed. It's been inspected by FEMA before the trailer could be put there, and twice by the parish in the last few weeks. I want to bring attention to this petition. This man responsible for this knew it was not for a mobile home park. He was told clearly by the parish that's not what it was for. It didn't say that on the sign. But he told people that played on their fear it was a mobile home park. I would have signed that, but it never was. It never was even a rezoning. It's just a exception. We have no plan B.
How long have you had that trailer there, Mr. Bennett?
It's been there a year.
What was there before?
Driveway. We had a metal house there, built in 2004 on a slab, but the hurricane destroyed it, and because it was built below the flood level that came after Hurricane Katrina, couldn't be rebuilt.
After Katrina, you put a metal
No, it
home?
was built before, 1 year before Katrina.
Okay.
The flood elevation wasn't as high as it is now. So it doesn't meet the flood elevation, and it's just ripped apart.
So after that got torn away, what was there?
Nothing.
So where have you lived since then?
Trailer. We lived in that old house.
So you've lived in this place since Hurricane Laura, not since Hurricane Rita?
No, Laura.
Any other questions for Mr. Bennett? Being none, okay. Dana Bourne? Diane, okay. Sorry about that.
I have a minute or?
Yeah, 1 minute, yes, sir.
A minute?
1 minute.
Yes, sir.
All right, I have the property.
Name and address for the record, sir?
Say again?
Name and address for the record?
My name is Dana Baham, B-A-H-A-M. I live at 2002 Nicholas Street in South Louisiana, in South Lake Charles. I purchased the property right across the street from Mr. Bennett. I'm the guy that's directly in front of his, and I have purchased the property right before Hurricane Rita. and have had it since. My wife and I, we've been married almost 50 years. I want to live on the river, and she wants to live in South Lake Charles. So right now, we're living in South Lake Charles. I'm keeping the property in hopes that someday she'll change. I want to live there. So, and I've known Pat since the first grade. And I'm also friends with my next door neighbor who is in opposition to this. So I'm here on behalf of Pat. He didn't say anything about his family situations, but he's got an invalid wife that's part of this stuff, and the trailer that they've got has got wheelchair access and stuff for them. I also got a chance to see his damage to his metal home, which
Sir,
is
you reached your
bad.
minute.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm here as a proponent of it.
Thank you.
Linda McLeod?
Hi, my name is Linda McLeod. I live at 1205 Garden Drive in Westlake. Well, I've known Pat for 60-some-odd years, and I know the situation. And the reason that I'm speaking for him is because, first of all, I heard it was a trailer park. And so I talked to him about it, and he says, no, it's my FEMA trailer. Where did you hear that? And I said, I saw it on Facebook. Well, that's the reason I asked, because 90% of what's on Facebook is a lie to begin with. But anyway, that's
95.
neither here nor there. But I know the situation. I know that his house was totally destroyed. And I know that the only place they have to live is in this FEMA trailer. And so I'm just here letting you know that I'm very much aware of that. And it's absolutely true. He is living in the FEMA trailer. And that's all it is just a trailer, one, not a trailer park. So,
Thank you, Ms. McLeod.
no questions? Okay.
I do have one more card for a proponent, but it just says Pat Bennett, and I think it may be from someone
Is there
else.
anybody else who may have filled out the card?
Did anyone else fill out a blue card? Are those all the proponents for Mr.?
That's it.
Bennett? Okay. I will go to the opposition. Mr. Charles Levesque.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, as Mr. Levesque makes his way up, we also had discussion prior to the meeting. With your permission, Mr. Levesque could serve as the main spokesperson for the opposition. So we allotted him 4 minutes and the others 2 minutes each.
Okay, 2 minutes.
My name is Charles Levesque, and I live at 909 Baghdad Road, across the street from Pat Bennett, and have the house right next to Dana Bam. When we saw the sign go up, here I've got here are the petition sign. We got about 55 signatures opposing this. And when the commission put the sign up, what it said is the request was to allow residential development manufactured home. And so to anybody reading the sign, it sounded like it was going to be more than just a FEMA trailer or trailer in there. Going down to the zoning commission or the police jury, they said, well, that EX up on the top of it means it's an exception. Well, nobody knew that, okay? I mean, we're not, not used to coming before these commissions all the time, so we didn't know it was an exemption to begin with. So that's where probably some of the confusion came in. So, but right now, I want to go back, dial back the clock to 2003. We were before this very commission on April the 15th. And Mr. Bennett was trying to get a variance for a manufactured home on that site for an additional year. And 4 of us showed up that were in opposition to that. And so the head of the commission at that point in time was in favor of extending the extension. Pat has also had on this property, when they tore down the saltwater barrier, brought all the creosote in from the saltwater barrier and put it on the land there. And he was going to use that for bulkhead to build that all up. That was 18 years ago, and that creosote is still, from the saltwater barrier, still laying on the ground there. If you look at that picture, you can see that. And Pat is also, we cited at the time about all the trash and rubbish and used trailers and stuff like that I've got some pictures of, and actually some recent pictures that I took growing up in the driveway, showing the trash that has accumulated. And I don't know, it doesn't ever seem to really want to clean it up. We went ahead and the commission went ahead and decided to give him the variance to go ahead for a variance for 1 year and a limit of 2 years to have the pilings and the debris gone from the site. None of the debris has been moved, to my knowledge, has been moved from the site. We cited, devaluation of property value, fire hazard, and, just the general look of the property. Since then, 18 years later, there have been a lot of homes go into that area. I mean, some really nice homes. I'm sorry to keep bumping into you. And, I know he's asking for the exemption, but this has been going on for a long time, 18 years, and still no solution. Now, nobody's heartless. Don't want to see Mr. Bennett, put out, but he does. He's had a lot of time to take care of the problems that he's had. So we're opposed to approving a permanent extension on that property. I'm going to go ahead and yield some time. I think somebody else would like to come up and talk.
Chris Loyal.
And again, Mr. Chairman, the remaining speakers will have 2 minutes each.
2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Chris Loyan. I live at 834 Baghdad Road. We recently built our, what you call our dream house maybe, right next door to Mr. Bennett. And it is mostly covered with woods and just, we really can't see what's going on across these woods. My question for the committee is, what exactly is the minimal impact to the surrounding areas when placing a mobile home?
So basically, the ordinance allows for the Planning and Zoning Board to approve a zoning exception for a manufactured home in single-family residential zones. And so, in looking at these cases, we've allowed, back in 2016, there was the board granted allowance for a mobile home to be used for this, or to be placed on a piece of property. As well as there's a tract of land, I think on, what's that, Johnson Road, that is zoned R2 at this time that does have a manufactured home on that property. So in terms of total impact, or if there's any negative impact, that's what we're looking at. And so that's why we're saying that it's minimal, because we've already approved some out there in that general vicinity.
Thank you, Mr. Crane.
Thank you for answering that question, Mr. Crane. I think more of my issue is the unsightliness of a lot of the debris that is around there, and I would really like to see that cleaned up to some, to whatever degree can be enforced. I am not heartless. I do know Mr. Bennett does own other commercial property. So as far as the hardship is, regarding funds and things. I mean, I own other commercial properties, and I think if something was to come down onto me, if my wife was sick or something like that, I would make use of my property to remedy any situation to not cause hardships on others. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Loyal. Any questions for Mr. Loyal? Okay, there being none, Joseph Poussin?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Joseph Poussin. I live at 340 Baghdad Road. I've moved there 2 years ago because it was my dream to have a house on the river. I also have had a camp at 1120 Baghdad Road since about 2003. So I own 2 properties on Baghdad Road, and Baghdad Road runs along the Calcasieu River, and most of the houses there have a nice view of the river. And they're all, I guess, what you would call a site-built houses and single-family dwellings. Apparently there is a mobile home on Johnson Street, which is not zoned the same. But as far as the previous variance that I believe the address listed is 816 Baghdad Road, I'm not aware of any other mobile home on Baghdad Road along the river. And so what's being asked for is a mobile home on riverfront property on Baghdad Road where none of the other houses are like that. And my concern is if we open the door to this, where's it going to stop? Because I'm hearing people say once you allow this to happen, then the next guy that comes along that wants to do it, it's even easier to do it. And so we're opposed to opening the floodgates. We're opposed to having any, and I say we, my family, my wife is here, and it's already been mentioned, you have a petition with over 50 signatures, and with your permission, I'd just like, for those in the audience who are opposed, if you just raise your hand, if you're here in opposition to this, I would appreciate that. So we have a lot of opposition to this. I guess only other thing I'd say is, I have a camp on the river because I want a nice camp on the river. There are houses of all types. They're big houses, little houses, but they're all houses on Baghdad Road, and it's just a nice area, and I would like to keep it that way. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions anyone might have.
Any questions for Mr. Poussin?
Yeah, your camp, sir, is it on Baghdad Road also?
It is on Baghdad Road. Both of my properties are on Baghdad.
The Baghdad Road, don't it runs into a dead end to the river?
It does. My camp is the dead end. You'd have to run through my camp before you ran into the river. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Lola Toops.
Hi, my name is Lola Toops. I live at 935 Baghdad Road. We built a nice home there about 2 years ago. We're in the process of building a nice boathouse and boat dock. And after that, we will be building a home there. Now, if we keep a decrease in the value of our homes around there by putting a mobile home in that area, I mean, if I ever tried to sell my house, it would be worth less because of the mobile home there. I'm a realtor I'm a realtor with Flavin Realty. And whenever we value a home with a mobile home next to it and a regular home next to it, it decreases the value. But now we've also got one problem with this property here. It's not only just the mobile home, it's the trash and the junk that is on there. Mr. Bennett has had many warnings to get rid of all this junk that's on there. He's got the creosote pilings on there. That's supposed to be a health hazard to not just us that's in the neighborhood, but also for him himself and his wife. All the junk that's around there, if you go along the river from the water side, I mean, it looks like a junk pile. There is the creosote pilings, there's old construction equipment, and then even when you own Baghdad, the when he opens his gate, there's always trash coming out into the road and into the ditches. The trailer is in the middle with, it's grown up on both sides of it. You can hardly see the trailer through there. I'm opposed to y'all granting this variance, because it's a fire hazard, it's a health hazard, like it's written down here. I mean, like you say, the conditions, the actual living conditions for Mr. Bennett are very, very bad on top of that. So, I mean, I don't know what else to say about it, but I had this big thing I was going to tell y'all about.
Thank you, Ms.
But-
Toots. You've reached your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bennett? Oh, Mr. Porsche, you have a question?
I'll let Mr. Bennett finish. I have a question for the staff.
And Mr. Chairman, Mr. Bennett has 2 minutes left.
How much?
You have 2 minutes left.
You have 56 signatures because of a trailer park. It never was intended to put in a trailer park there. And the permit in 2003 was in preparation to build the house in 2004 because I had a criminal damage to property report from my neighbor. I told the board I feel like I need to be there to build a house for all the stuff he's dumping over there. That property has a Corps of Engineers federal permit for those pilings. Before I got a permit to fill in the marsh, it was junk property. It wasn't worth nothing. I got a permit, I paid $100 a front foot. It is now valued at $2,500 a front foot. Their property values have soared because of what I did. They're sky high. Nobody with them fancy brick homes could even be there. They all filled in the marsh after I showed them how to do it.
Mr. Porsche?
Mr. Bennett, I'm looking through the zoning history here. In 2001, we granted a request by William P. Bennett. Is that you?
Yes.
All right. For a temporary residence while building a house at 900 Baghdad Road. Then in 2003, you came back for a 1-year extension.
I wasn't aware of the 2001, but I do remember the 2003 trailer to build the house.
Sure. All right.
Yes.
And then in 2005 for another 1-year extension. And this was during the time that you built your permanent residence that got destroyed by the storm.
That's correct.
Okay. So I did want to commend you on in 2001, you set out to do something, and it took you more years than you thought, but you did build a permanent residence that got destroyed by the storm.
Yes.
I know you said your wife's sick. Do you have any plans in the future or hopes that you would like to build another permanent residence? Right now, you're in a temporary hardship, correct?
Yes.
Would you hope that would be a temporary thing? Eventually, you could build a permanent home on the property, not a non-manufactured home on the property?
Yes, we have applied to SBA.
Okay.
And it has to be a raised elevation house.
Understood.
Because of the flood.
Sure.
You know, we hope to do that one day.
Sure.
It's not looking real strong right now, but we do have plans for that.
Okay. Question for the staff, 2016 816 Baghdad, we did approve an exception for a manufactured home?
You did.
I should remember that. You know, I know it's hard to say, hey, did we have a lot of opponents to that? On the map, could someone tell me how close that is? It seemed 816 and 900 should be fairly close. Is that on the riverside?
It is on the riverside.
Okay.
How long ago was that, Jake?
2016.
Show them where it is. I can't see.
To the west, you see the yellow highlighted property? That's Mr. Bennett's property.
Yep.
Directly to the west of that kind of white dot looking dirt, that's where that's located.
This is where it's at. That's 2016 right here.
So there's no.
There's no trailer there.
I think that's Mr. Longion's
No,
property to
this
the,
is Mr.
that's,
Longyon right here.
Yeah, he's immediately adjacent.
But this guy, Mr. Savoy, gets to put a trailer right there.
Once it's gone, though, you can't just put it back without coming back for a variance.
There's an exception that goes with the property, not with the person. Yes.
Property.
And there was an exception that allowed a manufactured home on that property. Now, it was never placed on that property, but there was an approved exception for that.
So whoever
It goes-
owns that property in the
Nobody said
future,
what?
It goes with the property.
can it ever be revoked?
I'm sorry?
Can it be revoked? I mean, down the road, if someone wanted to.
Not like, I mean, that would have to come from either the property owner or someone else. Or if the, you know, if the police jury ever, or this planning board ever decide to change the ordinance and prohibit manufactured homes totally, and, you know, there's,
Okay.
it's not easy.
Okay.
Okay. Any other, Mr. Porsche? Mr.
Would-
Porsche? I'll come back.
I see besides one little R2 lot there, nothing but yellow. So I definitely see the concerns of the adjacent homeowners. The 2016 kind of throws me that we, obviously approved that without, I guess, much opposition. I don't know who owned back then. I know we don't typically do this, but with the hurricane, what would the staff's position if he says, hey, I mean, if we voted no tonight, how long does he have to get the trailer out? What's the answer there? I mean, is it 30 days? Is it 60 days? And my other question would be, would the staff be open to giving a 2-year temporary housing extension to give him some time to either sell the lot, find another lot to move his mobile home? I hate making a permanent decision tonight on a temporary hardship because I do see the neighbor's position.
Well, I don't think we can make that decision for you. You could make that
Right.
decision to restrict it for a certain amount of time, but as a staff, I couldn't do that.
Right, okay.
We can't police that. Right, I mean, that's been the problem in the past.
I feel like we have a lot of policemen in the
Well,
audience.
a time frame you can. A time frame you can. We have a
The
problem
timeframe
when
could be-
the board has approved a family member to live in there, and then they have to get out of there. That's,
But timeframes, we can't.
yeah, but a time frame, sure.
I would like to make a motion to place a 2-year temporary residence extension or amendment for it to be a 2-year temporary variance or exception. What is an exception? A 2-year exception to allow Mr. Bennett to either build a permanent home or find alternate means of living in a home.
Could that be a hardship on him? I mean, I don't know, we don't know his finances
Yeah.
there, but I mean, would this, could he come back and say this is a hardship?
Once the 2 years, if you approve the 2 years and that 2 years is up, he can make application to come back to ask for an extension. He sure could. And it'd be up to the board to decide.
And the reason I'm for this motion is because he's proven in the past that when he was in a tough spot, he asked for something temporarily and he worked towards that goal, and he built a permanent home there that was damaged, destroyed by the storm. So he worked towards being in compliance. And I just think that means something and says something to me to do it. Y'all can vote
Can we add something in
accordingly.
there where he has to clean it up? Because it seems like the neighbors have a big
I
problem
don't feel,
with it.
that's just my opinion, that's a parish issue, I don't want to get into land cleaning.
I mean, the variance and exceptions and.
Mr. Chairman.
We can investigate that.
Mr. Chairman, if I can help Mr. Porsche, I believe what he's trying to do is amend the main motion, which right now is to allow residential development at 900 Baghdad Road, to amend that to say, allow residential development for a 2-year period from this date at 900 Baghdad Road.
I appreciate your help.
For manufacturing, yes. So that is an amended motion.
Amended motion.
So that is
there's
the
a
amended
motion.
motion. Do we have a second?
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, so
Second
now we
by
need to
Mr.
vote on the
Dubrow.
amended motion unless there's more debate on the amended motion.
Any further items to bring up on the amended motion? There being none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
As to accept the amended motion. All those opposed, nay. That motion is in place. The amended motion is in place. Mr. Williams, did you have something you wanted to ask?
My question might be the staff. I kept hearing trailer park. There is no space on Baghdad Road for a trailer park. Even if you wanted to put one, I don't think you have enough.
There's no property zone for that on Baghdad Road, no.
Okay. Mr. Porsche.
I'd just like to call the applicant back up if you could, so. he
Mr. Bennett.
Explain to him.
Let me explain something to you.
Sure.
2 years, my situation's not gonna change. I'm retired.
Mr. Bennett, I proposed that amendment to try to help you and buy some time for you. Because if I voted on its face, I don't feel my vote would have helped you in any way.
Mr. Poche, you would be voting against your own police jury board staff and against all the exceptions you've already done.
I've only seen one on
That's
record.
discriminatory.
I've only seen one on record.
No, there's 3.
I vote how I see it, not how the staff
My
recommends, sir.
situation's not gonna
Okay.
change in 2 years.
Thank you, Mr. Bennett. Any further questions or comments? Ms. Jennifer, roll call vote?
And again, Mr. Chairman, what we're now voting on is the main motion as amended now with
Correct.
the 2-year provision.
Correct, with 2 years.
Yes.
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 Mr. Williams?
Yeah.
Ms. Winey?
Yes.
Ms. Dickerson?
Yes.
Ms. Cobb? Mr. Dubrow?
Yes.
Ms. Galicia?
Yes.
Ms. Hyatt? All in favor, 10.
10 in favor, the motion passes. The next item on the agenda is to advise that the police jury took the following action on November 18th, 2021, with reference to the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board from November 16th, 2021 meeting. Anthony Leonard's Avenue F, P, and Z recommended to approve, police jury approved. Palvest, Highway 27 North, Planning and Zoning recommended to approve, police jury approved. Estate of Druis Westland, Heaton Road, Planning and Zoning recommended to approve, police jury deferred. Keeling Construction, Highway, Gulf Highway, Planning and Zoning recommended to approve, police jury approved. Robert S. Miller, Highway 171 North, Planning and Zoning recommended to approve, police jury approved.
Thank you, sir. I think that, is that yours? That
The
was on
next item
pond.
on the agenda is to advise that the next regularly scheduled Planning and Zoning meeting will be held on Tuesday, January 18th, 2021. Item 14, consideration of going into executive session to discuss the following: Kevin Foreman et al. Versus Calcasieu Parish Police Jury et al. Is there a motion? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Dickerson, second by Ms. Hyatt. Let's go to the room on our right, and we will be in executive session. And back into regular session. At this time, I will yield the spot to Mr. Crane for election of officers.
This is always fun. Before we elect the officers, I just want to thank Mr. Smith and Ms. Dickerson for your service on this board as being chair and vice chair, and we appreciate your leadership, during this year. And also for the board. I mean, you witnessed tonight the decisions that you have to make are tough decisions. And we appreciate that, and the police sure does too. And the citizen, and it helps our citizens. So we appreciate it.
Sometimes it didn't feel like it.
So at this time, I will entertain nominations for the chair. Do I have any nominations? Any nomination? Does anybody?
Kirk Smith.
I nominate Kirk.
Okay, I have a nomination for Mr. Smith, Kirk Smith. Do I have any other nominations for chair? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Going once, going twice. Okay. Sold. So there being none, Mr. Smith, you will take the chair again this year.
One statement.
Yes, sir.
How many of y'all speak French?
I don't.
C'est tout fini.
You finished.
This is it.
If you will take the chair again, Mr. Chairman, if you will take the chair and then do the vice chair. Congratulations.
Man, I got y'all fooled or something. I will open the floor for nominations for the position of vice chair.
Absolutely. Ms. Julie?
Nomination, Mr. Williams says Ms. Dickerson. Any other?
Going once, going twice.
Sold. It's
Sold.
official.
All right, congratulations.
C'est tout fini.
Yeah, and c'est tout fini.
Just one other thing, Mr. Chair. I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. So be safe out there.
And we appreciate the staff very much and all your
Y'all
work.
very much.
Glad we got to put a face with the voice.
There you go. Did a great job.
I think after the COVID and.
So, if y'all listen, next year at this time,
It's not gonna be you? You're doing such a good job. See, that's the problem.
did a job. So you have 1 year to think about it. All right. Until then, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Ms. Wally, second by Ms. Cobb. We are adjourned.